want to invite anybody who wants to hear a story from closer up to come on down and join me this ways. And as a departure, this morning this is actually a true story. We try it out. And it's a true story about something that actually happened to me. You see, when I was in 4th grade, and it's the story of how hundreds of squeaky brown noises became music. So when I was in 4th grade, there was a moment in our elementary school where the music teachers brought out all of these instruments, and they played each instrument. And I fell in love with the cello. Hearing it and watching it being played, something inside of me opened, and I knew that that was the instrument that I was supposed to play. And so I went home and I told my mom and I told my dad, and they were really supportive until we figured out a way to do it. And I got a teacher, and my teacher told me about these orchestras at the New England Conservatory, far away from where I was living, not quite so far that a parent couldn't drive it, but still far away, so it was a big deal that they drove it. There was these orchestras there, and so I said, yeah, okay, I'll try it. String orchestras, cellos, and violins. And see, the way they organize it, there's a hierarchy. There's a pecking order, and the worse you are, the earlier in the morning your parents have to wake up. So you start out in the 7 o'clock in the morning orchestra on a Saturday morning. So we had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get in the car and drive into Boston. And what's almost more incredible than the sacrifice and the work of my parents to keep getting me up that early and drive me all the way in was the work of the conductor. You see, there was this big, amazing, plump German lady. And it was her work, it was her ministry every Saturday morning to go in and conduct this group of squeaky brown instruments. And you see, when I was in 4th grade, I was way late in the curve. Other people start stringed instruments when they're babies, when they're Naya's size, and you strap on these tiny little boxy violins to their little baby hands. So by the time I was in 4th grade, I towered above these people. And I was the only 4th grader in this huge sea of kindergartners and 1st graders. You know, they're awesome too. Kindergartners, 1st graders, awesome. But still, it felt weird because I was so big. But even worse and even stranger and weirder than feeling so big and so old was the sound that we made that first day. It was hideous. And I didn't even really know. I loved classical music. I love all kinds of music. But I didn't really know about the fancy, fine-tuned bits of music. But that was bad music that we made that first day. But she stood up there in front of us, this conductor, and she smiled, somehow smiled, and she looked out at the sea of hundreds of tiny little boxy, squeaky people. And she told us, just listen to one another. Just open and listen to one another. And I went home and I was discouraged after that first day. Again, felt weird because I was so big and so old, so much older than everybody else. But I was also discouraged because that music was just so bad. But I kept going. And I kept practicing, and sure enough, by the end of the year, we made beautiful music together. And so, it is here with us in this church, with this shared ministry that we're all a part of. But the cool thing about church is that we are the conductor. And we are each squeaky little instrument. And we are the guy who had to show up at 5:30 and set up all the chairs and stands. We are all of these things together. And sometimes we make squeaky music. And sometimes we all show up and there's something truly beautiful happens and we make glorious music together. All right, so we'll invite you to rise and join me and others out in the atrium. And we invite everyone to rise and greet the folks around you. Get to know who and how.